Shannon, Iran's deputy foreign minister says his country's willing to compromise on a nuclear deal if sanctions relief is on the table. President Trump says he has something else in mind.
He has something else in mind, like maybe bombing Iran and having a war. It's like, look how cheeky he is about the possibility of a war. President, oh my God. Okay, sorry.
Do you want regime change in Iran?
Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen.
That message well received in Munich, where 250,000 people rallied against the Iranian government, with Republican Senator Lindsey Graham on stage.
Help is on the way.
Nearby at the Munich Security Conference.
Help is on the way, Lindsey Graham says to a rally in support of regime change in Munich. And, listen, when Lindsey Graham appears at a foreign rally, good things do not happen. I mean, he was actually, he did not go. I was going to say that there were these, when the Maidan coup happened, there were massive rallies, but that wasn't actually him who addressed those rallies. That was John McCain, his buddy, and also Senator Chris Murphy.
Right, exactly. A bipartisan approach.
Yes.
And of course, McCain popularized the great hit, bomb, 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 Iran.
That's right. So Lindsey Graham is carrying on his late friend's legacy. And he's, help is on the way. I mean, he's appropriating John Edwards' line.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2004, hope is on the way.
Right.
But John Edwards was talking about helping struggling working class people in the U.S. Lindsey Graham is talking about reassuring pro-Israel monarchists that you don't worry, Trump is going to bomb Iran, your country of origin, soon and install your guy.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Graham implored President Trump not to reverse course.
If we back out now, it'll be the biggest mistake we've made. You can't say, keep protesting, we got you back, help's on the way, and nothing happened.
Ahead of talks resuming with Iran Tuesday,
you can't say, keep protesting, we're going to help you out, and then not bomb you. Like, if you promise help to Iran, that means you have to bomb Iran.
Exactly.
If
you have people's backs, you have to bomb their heads.
Exactly. Exactly. That's literally what Lindsey Graham believes. If you have people's backs, you have to bomb their heads. That's how he sees the world. Now, an alternative, if he wants to help the people of Iran, is to stop strangling their economy, which helped cause the protests, as Scott Bessent bragged about repeatedly. That's other option than dropping bombs on them.
Right.
Is actually taking your boot off their necks via financial coercion and strangulation. But that option is never discussed.
Not as fun. Yeah, it's just not as fun. Yeah.
This time in Geneva, Trump has dispatched a second aircraft carrier to the region, the USS Gerald R. Ford.
In case we don't make a deal, we'll need it. If we don't have a deal, we'll need it.
All right. So, that's the state of Trump's threats against Iran. And I was too generous. He's not even really talking about diplomacy. He's saying, yeah, maybe, but if not, we'll do regime change.
Right.
And a lot of people around him, including Lindsey Graham, really want that outcome. Also going on, as was discussed there, is the Munich Security Conference.
So much fun.
And we're going to get into that now, but I think we have more from Munich from Fox News.
Yeah.
Leading Trump's delegation in Munich, Secretary of State Marco Rubio received a standing ovation for giving what some called a reassuring message to European allies.
We do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Not all Democrats attending the security conference agreed.
I know that the Democratic Party is here for our allies. We are shocked at the president's destruction of our relationship with our European allies.
Back home, lawmakers left Washington with...
Okay, so that's it. That's our little teaser on Munich. But we have a great speech from Marco Rubio, and this is something that we have to just take a look at, because they played little snippets of it on some of the morning shows, but it really deserves its own attention. So let's take a listen to just part of Marco Rubio's speech.
Centuries before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe.
So things are going great, according to Michael Rubio, up until the Second World War. The West was settling lands, by which he means committing extermination of indigenous peoples to steal their lands, building vast empires. What's the problem with an empire? It's a friendly empire. Things are going great.
Yep.
But then something got in the way, and that was those dastardly commies.
Well, I was going to say, then something got in the way, and we all know what gets in the way in the in the 1940s when we're talking about Europe. And that would, of course, be, one would think, perhaps Nazism, but not so much. So let's throw it back to Marco.
1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. So
the problem wasn't Nazism. It was just the Cold War. It was the Soviet Union. He kind of skipped over Nazism.
Great Western empires that entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings.
Those gosh darn anti-colonial uprisings. The nerve of people with darker skin believing that they have the right to live in freedom from colonialists is just they really screwed us all, everybody.
Yeah.
It's time to get back on track. Let's get this. Let's right this ship.
Yeah, let's right this ship to the right.
Yeah. He's basically saying that, like, countries that fought for their freedom, especially in Africa, where so many anti-colonial struggles took place, were setbacks for the trajectory of history for Western civilization,
right?
As he calls it.
And he's still not over it as a very white Cuban. I'm sure he's still not over Cuba's independence. I'm sure he feels very bad for Spain. And he did cite the age of Columbus, which is, of course, when the same time as indigenous populations were exterminated by Columbus et al., you also had Europe kicking out the Muslims and the Jews. And things really went downhill. Not that Rubio cared about that part. He probably liked
transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come. Against that backdrop.
I mean, look, first of all, I'm not sure when he says the hammer and sickle if he's talking about the Soviet Union. That's what he's trying to do. But also, a lot of these countries were not actually Soviet-backed. They were just worker-led and peasant-led. Like, for example, Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh. He wasn't down with the Soviet Union. He actually was inspired by the American Revolution.
Right.
He just wanted freedom for his country. And like the Vietnamese wanted freedom for their country from French colonial rule, which the U.S. helped push back before ultimately coming in itself with the Vietnam War. So he's lamenting all this.
Right.
He said all this is bad. All this trend of people trying to free themselves from colonial rule is a bad thing. And the Fox News guy is claiming that this was a reassuring message in Munich. So what they're saying is that for Europe's like, yay, colonize us once again. Yeah. Yes.
Well, it's like the En Vogue song, Free Your Mind, and the rest will follow. So Marco Rubio is kind of saying, don't free your mind or the rest will follow.
I'm starting to be a music nerd, Katie, but actually I do believe even before En Vogue, that's a fantastic song. I'm not trying to knock it, but even before that, I believe Parliament.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Either Parliament or Parliament Funkadelic or P-Funk. I don't know. I do believe. We'll have to test that later. But anyway, it is a great line. And yes, that's exactly what Marco Rubio is saying here on behalf of colonialism.
Yeah, for him, it's a cautionary tale.
Yes.
That's all. Yes. It's not supposed to be inspiration.
Then, as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is...
Can you you just imagine addressing Europe and talking about history of the 20th century and not mentioning Nazism? It's just such an insane oversight, but it's not an oversight. It's intentional because the real enemies for him, of course, are the communists. And Aaron, as you pointed out, a lot of these nations were not even communist or were not Soviet affiliated. And what always happens is the United States, by targeting governments that are at all independent or trying to nationalize anything, even remotely, we then push them into the arms of the Soviet Union because we attack them. And how are they going to defend themselves against the United States? So
he's giving it's like a weird kind of like, motivational speech. He's like a motivational speaker, but for colonialism. Like, this is what we did before. This is within us. It's part of our heritage. We honor our ancestors by killing people and stealing their land. And we can do that again. Yeah. With your help. But you have to be strong and not weak because you've been weak.
A TED Talk.
Yes. It's like a bully giving a motivational speech to a bunch of underlings.
Right.
Trying to get him to get back with the program of bullying.
Yeah.
The weak. And people who just want to live in freedom and be left alone.
Bullying 2.0. Colonialism 2.0. Yeah.
All right. Let's see how much more of this we can take.
Why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker.
And this is what I understand about Europe. They constantly take the U.S. government calling them weak, like, you're weak, okay, you're spineless. Like, a few weeks ago on the show, we played Scott Bessent saying something to the effect of like Europe's over, like Europe doesn't have, like Europe is weak. We're the big boss, and they love to flaunt that to the European allies rather than being offended and walking out there like, yes, tell us more, Daddy Rubio, about how weak we are.
So gross. Yeah, Daddy. I mean, and Mark Rutte did call Donald Trump Daddy.
Yes, he did.
Secretary General of NATO. Yeah.
We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their
guilt and show. Yeah, so it's like, yes, there was, Germany, you did have the whole thing with the Nazis. Okay. Yes. Britain, Spain, Portugal. Yes, you had these empires and you colonized people, but the time for guilt and shame is over.
Exactly.
Trying to, compensate for crimes of the past. All that's done.
Yeah, he's following the great footsteps of J.D. Vance, who also said the same thing to the basically neo-Nazi party of Germany.
And again, also appropriating self-help language, because there is a strain of kind of that kind of talk that says, don't be weighed down by guilt and shame. Right. But in this case, they're appropriating that with like, don't be weighed down by the fact that you stole people's land and murdered a lot of people. Right. Okay, the time for that is over. In fact, let's do it again.